Let's review all the commas. First thing that you're going to see is one comma in the form of the abandoned boxcar. It's an independent clause, a comma, and then a dependent clause, which is going to give you a definition-like clause of the word that precedes the word right before it. Let's go ahead and take a look at our sentence. It says, I went to Koh Tao, an island off the coast of southern Thailand. What is Koh Tao? It is an island off of the coast of Thailand. You see how that's a mini definition? Number two is the comma fence. Comma fence, you're still dealing with one comma. In this particular case, what you're going to do is you're going to put a comma between lists of stuff or lists of descriptive words. Doesn't matter, just think a list. Basically, a comma fence says that you're going to build a fence between things that are unrelated. So if you look at our sentence here, it says he ran slow fast, comma, slow fast, as he was too tired to sprint the full way. You see right away that slow fast, when you don't put a comma there, that has to be one thing, slow fast. That is incorrect. You see here, in this case, because of the comma fence, we're going to need to put a comma here because we ran slow, that's one thing. Then he ran fast, that's two. Then he ran slow again. That's a third thing. There's a comma, and then he ran fast again. What does all that mean? He was too tired to sprint the full way, so he had to alternate between running fast and slow. Let's take a look at number three. Number three is two commas. It's Mr. Chung. What's between the two commas is non-essential information that separates the noun away from the verb. When you cross it out, the sentence should still be complete. Here's the full sentence. Playing skeet ball, a fun arcade game, is common in Europe. Cross out the Mr. Chung comma splice, and we have playing skeet ball is common in Europe. Also, just keep in mind that what we saw earlier up here with the abandoned boxcar is that dependent clause is going to define the word right before the comma. Here is our dependent clause here, and you see that that defines skeet ball, which precedes the comma right here. Comma using Mr. Chung, double commas, comma splice. Number four is the multiple comma rule. It's the comma staircase. So here we have our sentence, and there's a bunch of commas, three. There could be four, there could be five, there could be six, it doesn't matter. Just look at the concept. You see that there's some similarities in all this stuff. I went to the Maldives, comma, a group of islands located in the Indian Ocean. What is a group of islands? That defines the word right before the comma there, Maldives. Notice that I went diving in the Maldives is an independent clause. Kids, take a look at the second part here, a group of islands located in the Indian Ocean. That's a dependent clause. Remember, that's no different than what you saw up here with one comma in the abandoned boxcar. Dependent clauses define the word right before. Now, take a look at this. Situated in the Arabian Sea, what's that? That is part of the Indian Ocean. Where is the Arabian Sea? In the Indian Ocean. You see that? That is a dependent clause. It defines the word right before that, and it says just off the coast of Sri Lanka. Guess what's off the coast of Sri Lanka? Arabian Sea. Kids, that's it for the all commas. Let's take a look at some practice problems. Let's take a look at a tricky problem. It's problem number 12. In problem number 12, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see here's 12, and the beginning of the sentence is up here with I left France. Where is the period? Way down here. All right. So step number 2 is to go ahead and trace in punctuation. So we're going to pick an answer choice. Let's start with F. There's a comma here. Let's trace over that. And then we have a comma here. And then there's a comma here and a comma here. And then there's another comma here, and there's a comma. Ugh, geez, lots of commas. All right, so it's multiple commas. You can see right away this is going to be the comma staircase. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and start at the very back at the end of the sentence right here. All right, so if you look at the end of the sentence here, it says, and weekends exploring France we enjoyed together. All right, you'll notice that you see the word and, okay, and a comma. Right away your eye should pop and say, hey, hypnotizing the chupacabra, that's the fanboys. F-A-N-B-O-Y-S. A stands for and. That means if this is a fanboys, it's going to link two independent clauses together. So what comes before that should be independent if this is a fanboys. And what comes after the comma, starting with the word and, should be independent. If it's not independent, then it's either wrong or it's just listing stuff. So since this is in the non-underlined portion, we have to assume that it's correct. You see it? So let's go ahead and label it then. Here we are. Here is that comma. Weekends, remember what I told you in Hypnotizing the Chupacabra? You simply put your finger over this and disregard this and hear the sentence. Weekends exploring France we enjoyed together. That is a dependent clause. So right away, since it's used correctly, it's not a fanboys. So it's a dependent clause that's going to be part of a list. Okay? Since it's a dependent clause that's part of a list, we already know that this can give you more information about what they did on the town. They explored France. All right? Since it's dependent, we can cross it out. All right, let's go back again to the next comma. Here is the next comma. It says weeknights on the town. You see how that's a list of stuff too, and a dependent clause, and we cross that out. Okay, you with me so far? Great. Let's go up to the beginning of the sentence now. It says, I left France with many stories. That's an independent clause. And since it's an independent clause, we know that it's either going to be a dependent clause or a fanboys. Here's the comma. So, F-A-N-B-O-Y-S. S in fanboy stands for the word so. So now we know that all of this information, all the way up to class, has to be an independent clause. Are you with me? If that's the case, then we can go ahead and cross that independent clause off in the beginning. What we have now is this. Here, all the way to there at class has to be independent clause. You with me? Let's go ahead and take a look. Wait. You see here after the word was, that is in the non-underlined portion, so it's used correctly. So when people ask me what my favorite part of the trip was, that's a dependent clause. Remember, dependent clauses are non-essential information. Let's cross it out. That means that what's remaining here has to be an independent clause. You see what I'm doing here? The concept, kids, is to reduce this stuff down. Now, we know that from here all the way to here has to be an independent clause. If we go ahead and take a look at answer choice F, no change, that puts a comma here and here. All right? They're always surprised to hear me talk about my Brazilian friend Pablo and the scores of weekdays in class. Now you see here is the word and. So if we put a comma here, that means that this part has to be an independent clause according to Hypnotizing the Chupacabra. Remember what we said? If it's a fanboy, simply put your finger over it and don't read it. The scores of weekdays in class, that is a dependent clause. So that tells you right away there's got to be no comma in after the word Pablo. All right, so you see what we're doing? We've already got rid of all that stuff there, and then we can start crossing answer choices out. That means answer choice H and J can both be taken out because there's a bad comma after Pablo. In fact, if you look even closer, you can see there is another comma after Pablo here. That means F is incorrect. G is the only one left. Let's quickly review what we just did. All right, we said that I left France with many stories. That's an independent clause. We see a fanboys here with a comma, so we know that whatever there has to be independent clause. We started at the period here. Here is the word and that is not an independent clause, so that basically means there's going to be a list of stuff. Okay, we crossed it out. We came back over here. Here's the rest of the list of stuff here. Okay, and now whatever we have remaining here has to be an independent clause. Here is a fanboys. We disregard that. When people ask me what my favorite part of the trip was, that's a dependent clause with a comma. And now whatever we have here has to be independent. They're always surprised to hear me talk about my Brazilian friend Pablo and the scores of weekdays in class. G is the correct answer. Look real close at that, kids. Tough problem. However, using the comma staircase, a little bit of fanboys with Hypnotizing the Chupacabra will get you the right answer. G for 12. Let's go ahead and take a look at another problem. In this case here, we'll work with problem number 3. Step number 1 is to scan the answer choices A through D and select an answer choice that we'd like to work with. Here in B, we see that we have a comma after the word mouth. Let's try that one. So here is the word mouth. We trace in step 1 where the comma would be in the underlined punctuation. Step 2 is to locate the sentence that's in question. That's the beginning up there with the word the, and there's a period at the end. Then we scan in here for other punctuation if there's other commas or dot, 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 comma, and so forth. In this case, there is none. Then what we do in step 3 is to read up to the comma and label it independent or dependent. The bit of French I had taken in high school began pouring out of my mouth. That's an independent clause. Now, according to the abandoned boxcar rule, we need a dependent clause on this side here. Let's go ahead and check. Speaking the language would only become more natural over the course of the semester. Right away, you see that's an independent clause. That violates the abandoned boxcar rule, which says we need independent, comma, and a dependent. Number 2, here after the comma, this, according to abandoned boxcar, should define, give you like a mini definition of what came pouring out of this person's mouth. Speaking the language would only become more natural. Is that what came pouring out of their mouth? No, that is crossed out. Now, since we have 2 independent clauses, right away I go up to answer choice A, which has a period there. That will be the correct answer. Boom. If you look at C and D, there is no punctuation, which means this is going to be a run-on sentence. Thanks for watching the comma review. All commas, kids. Bye for now.